The text message on Daphne's phone might as well have been a final verdict for our marriage. I wasn't snooping. Hell, I was just trying to find my own phone charger when hers lit up on the kitchen counter like a neon sign in a graveyard. Meeting Trevor alone tonight. Don't stress about it. Don't stress? I'm Colton Reyes, 38 years old, logistics coordinator for a mid-sized shipping company in what used to be a thriving Ohio town before the factories packed up and left for Mexico. I've got calloused hands from weekend boxing at Murphy's gym, a receding hairline that makes me look older than I am, and apparently a wife who thinks I'm stupid enough to believe her ex-boyfriend just wants to catch up over coffee. Our house sits on Maple Street, one of those suburban rows where every lawn tells a story and every neighbor's a critic. Mrs. Kessler next door waters her petunias while memorizing Who Comes and Goes. The Hendersons across the street pretend their marriage isn't falling apart behind their perfect white fence. And here I am, standing in my kitchen at 7:30 on a Tuesday night, holding evidence that my own life is about to join the neighborhood's collection of beautiful disasters. Daphne walked in from the garage, car keys jingling, looking like she'd stepped out of a pharmaceutical sales brochure. At 36, she still turned heads. Auburn hair always perfectly styled, clothes that cost more than my monthly gym membership, smile that could sell ice to Eskimos or lies to husbands. "Hey, babe," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "I'm heading out for a bit, just meeting an old friend." "Trevor?" I asked, setting her phone down carefully. The slightest pause. A microsecond of hesitation that spoke volumes. "Yeah, actually. He's going through a rough patch with Elena, just needs someone to talk to." I nodded slowly like I was processing this information instead of planning her funeral. "That's nice of you. How long has he been reaching out?" "Oh, just recently. Poor guy's really struggling." Poor guy, right. Trevor Holt, who owned the flashiest used car dealership in town, drove a BMW that cost more than my annual salary, and had the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. Poor guy, my ass. "Well, tell him I said hi," I said, forcing a smile. She kissed my cheek, a peck so brief it might have been an accident, and headed for the door. "Don't wait up, we might grab dinner." After her car pulled out, I sat in my home office, surrounded by boxing gloves, unpaid bills, and the kind of clutter that accumulates when you're too busy working to notice your life falling apart. I opened my laptop and did something I'd never thought I'd do. I checked our shared phone plan account. The logs told a story Daphne hadn't. Texts to Trevor going back 3 months, calls at lunch breaks, late evenings, even during her supposed work meetings. Nothing explicitly private in the preview lines I could see, but the frequency painted a picture clearer than any dirty message could. My phone buzzed. A text from my buddy Jake. "You coming to the Crowbar tonight? Trivia starts at 9. The Crowbar was my sanctuary, a working-class bar with cracked leather booths, neon beer signs, and the kind of greasy fries that could cure a hangover or cause one. It's where men went to sweat out their problems instead of talking about them, where the bartender knew your drink and your troubles without asking. I grabbed my jacket and headed out. If Daphne could have her secret meetings, I could have a beer and figure out what the hell I was going to do about it. The bar was half empty, which was perfect. Jake waved from our usual booth, already nursing a beer and looking like he'd had a day as rough as mine. "You look like someone shot your dog," he said as I slid across from him. "Worse, someone's shooting my marriage." I told him about the texts, the lies, the whole sorry mess. Jake listened without judgment. One of his better qualities. He'd been divorced twice, so he knew the territory. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "I don't know yet, but I'm not going to sit around and play the fool." That's when I made the first decision that would change everything. I pulled out my phone and found Elena Holt's number, Trevor's wife. If he was stepping out on her, she deserved to know. And if Daphne thought she could play games, it was time to change the rules. "Elena, it's Colton Reyes, Daphne's husband. I think we need to talk. Elena Holt turned out to be a lot sharper than I'd expected. We met the next morning at a coffee shop across town, neutral territory, away from prying eyes and gossip mills. She was smaller than I remembered from the few social gatherings we'd attended together, but there was something fierce in her green eyes that reminded me why you should never underestimate quiet people. I've suspected for weeks, she said, stirring her latte with mechanical precision. Trevor's been working late, taking calls in the garage, acting like he's got some big secret. I just didn't want to believe it was her. I showed her the phone logs on my laptop. Her jaw tightened as she scrolled through the evidence. Dozens of calls, hundreds of texts, a pattern of deception that went back months. That bastard, she whispered, and here I thought he was planning some surprise for our anniversary. What do you want to do about it? I asked. She looked up from the screen, and I saw something dangerous flicker in her expression. I want to burn his world down, but smart, clean, so he can't weasel out of it. I liked her already. We spent an hour planning. Elena would play dumb for now, gather more evidence from her end. I'd document everything I could find. Then we'd spring our trap at the right moment, in the right place, with maximum impact. There's a school fundraiser this Friday, Elena said. Big social event. Half the town will be there. If we're going to expose them, that's our stage. I drove home feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Purpose. Daphne was already at work, probably texting Trevor between meetings, thinking she was so clever. She had no idea the ground was shifting beneath her feet. That evening, she came home with flowers. Guilt flowers, I realized now. Cheap grocery store roses that were supposed to make me feel special while she planned her next rendezvous. What's the occasion? I asked. Can a wife buy her husband flowers? She smiled, that pharmaceutical sales smile. Of course. They're beautiful. I put them in water and watched her relax, thinking she'd successfully managed me. How was work? Busy. You know how it is. End of quarter reports, meetings with vendors. The lies rolled off her tongue like water. I might have to work late tomorrow. Big presentation on Friday. Friday, the same day as the fundraiser, the same day Elena and I were planning to detonate her little fantasy. That's too bad. I was hoping we could go to Tommy's school fundraiser together. A flicker of panic crossed her face. Oh, right. I forgot about that. Maybe I can rearrange things. Don't worry about it. I'll represent the family. You focus on work. She looked relieved, probably already planning how to spend Friday night with Trevor while I was at the school playing the dutiful single parent. The next few days passed in a strange dance of deception. Daphne thought she was manipulating me, but I was 3 steps ahead, documenting everything. I installed a location tracker on our shared family account, completely legal since we both owned the phones. I took screenshots of deleted message notifications. I even started recording our conversations on my phone, just in case. Elena texted me updates. Trevor was definitely planning something for Friday night. He'd made reservations at Romano's, the fancy Italian place downtown. He'd even bought new cologne, which Elena found by accidentally going through his car. He's such a cliché, she texted. New cologne, fancy dinner, probably has a hotel room booked somewhere. Men are so predictable when they're trying to be sneaky. Thursday night, Daphne was practically vibrating with excitement. She tried on 3 different outfits, supposedly for her big presentation, and spent an hour on her makeup. For a work meeting. Right. You look beautiful, I told her, and meant it. She did look beautiful. She also looked like a woman preparing for a romantic evening with someone who wasn't her husband. Thanks, babe. I'm nervous about tomorrow. This presentation could really advance my career. I'm sure you'll impress them. If she heard the double meaning in my words, she didn't show it. Friday morning, I kissed her goodbye like always, told her I loved her like always, and watched her drive away to what she thought would be the perfect crime. She had no idea she was driving into an ambush. I spent the day at work, but my mind was elsewhere. Every hour that passed brought us closer to the moment of truth. Elena texted me at lunch. Trevor left work early, told his manager he had a family emergency. The irony is ruining me. The school fundraiser started at 7. I arrived at 6:30, wearing my best suit and a smile that probably looked more predatory than friendly. The gymnasium was decorated with balloons and streamers, transformed from a place where kids played dodgeball into an elegant venue for Daphne's public humiliation. Elena arrived at 7 sharp, looking stunning in a black dress that probably cost more than my car payment. She'd done her homework. Several other wives had already approached her, asking where Trevor was. "Oh, he had to work late," she told them, loud enough for others to hear. "You know how it is. Business comes first." Mrs. Patterson, the school principal, made the usual announcements about fundraising goals and community support. The silent auction was in full swing, parents bidding on vacation packages and restaurant gift certificates. Everyone was having a wonderful time. At 8:15, Elena's phone buzzed. She showed me the screen, a photo from Trevor, clearly taken at Romano's, showing 2 wine glasses and the caption, "Wish you were here." "Showtime," she whispered. Elena moved through the crowd like a woman with purpose, which she was. I followed at a distance, watching her stop at strategic locations. The refreshment table where the biggest gossips gathered, the silent auction display where parents lingered longest, the entrance where late arrivals would hear everything. "Excuse me," Elena said loudly enough to cut through the ambient chatter. "Has anyone seen my husband Trevor tonight? He said he'd be here, but I can't seem to find him anywhere." Mrs. Kessler, my nosy neighbor, was the first to take the bait. "I haven't seen him, dear. Maybe he's running late?" "That's strange," Elena said, pulling out her phone. "He just sent me this photo from Romano's restaurant. Look, you can see the timestamp, 8:15 tonight, but he told me he'd be here supporting the school." The crowd around her grew as people leaned in to see the photo. Murmurs started, the kind of whispers that spread through small communities like wildfire. "Maybe it's an old photo," suggested Janet Morrison, always trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. "Could be," Elena said thoughtfully. "Let me call him and ask." She dialed Trevor's number on speakerphone. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. His voice, slightly slurred from wine, filled the sudden silence. "You've reached Trevor. I'm probably busy making deals or making love. Leave a message." The inappropriate voicemail message drew uncomfortable laughs from some parents and shocked gasps from others. Elena played it perfectly, looking embarrassed and confused. "That's odd," she said. "He's not answering. And that voicemail? He must have recorded it as a joke." She tried again. This time, Trevor answered. "Hey babe, what's up?" His voice was warm, intimate, clearly not meant for his wife. "Trevor? It's Elena, your wife." A pause. Then, "Elena? Shit, sorry, I thought you were... hi, honey, what's wrong?" "I'm at the school fundraiser. You know, the one you promised to attend? Where are you?" "I'm... working. Late meeting. Very important client." "Funny, because you just sent me a photo from Romano's restaurant. Are you having a business dinner?" Another pause. Longer this time. The crowd around Elena had grown to include most of the parents in the gymnasium. Principal Patterson was trying to maintain order, but even she was listening. "Yeah, exactly. Business dinner. Big client loves Italian food." "I see. And who exactly are you dining with?" "Just a client. You don't know them." Elena smiled at the crowd, a smile that could have cut glass. "Well, I hope you're closing some big deals. I'll let you get back to your... client." She hung up and looked around at the assembled parents with perfectly crafted confusion. "I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. Trevor works so hard for our family." That's when I made my move. I'd been standing near the back, but now I stepped forward. "Elena, I hate to add to your concerns, but I think there's something you should know." All eyes turned to me. I pulled out my phone and opened the location tracking app. My wife Daphne is supposed to be working late tonight. Big presentation, she said. But according to our family location sharing, she's also at Romano's restaurant. Right now. I showed Elena the screen. Her face went through a perfect progression of emotions: confusion, realization, hurt, and finally, cold fury. Your wife is at Romano's? The same restaurant where my husband is having his business dinner? Looks that way. The gymnasium had gone completely silent except for the sound of Elena's heels clicking on the polished floor as she paced. When she spoke again, her voice carried to every corner of the room. Well, isn't that interesting? My husband is at Romano's with a mysterious client he won't name. Your wife is at Romano's for a work meeting. What are the odds they'd choose the same restaurant on the same night? Mrs. Kessler, bless her gossiping heart, was the first to voice what everyone was thinking. You don't suppose they're together? Elena turned to face the crowd, and I had to admire her performance. She looked like a woman slowly putting together a horrible puzzle. Together? Trevor and Daphne? But they're both married. To other people. They wouldn't, would they? The murmurs grew louder. Parents started pulling out their phones, some to text the drama to friends who weren't there, others to check social media for any photos from Romano's that might confirm the scandal. Principal Patterson finally stepped in. Perhaps this is a conversation better had privately. No, Elena said firmly. I think I've had enough private conversations. I think it's time for some public truth. She dialed Trevor again, still on speaker. This time, when he answered, she didn't give him a chance to speak. Trevor, darling, I'm here at the school fundraiser with about 50 of our friends and neighbors. They're all very curious about your business dinner. In fact, Colton Reyes is here too, and his wife Daphne seems to be at the exact same restaurant as you. Isn't that a coincidence? Silence from the phone. Trevor, are you there? Elena, I can explain. Oh, good. Please do explain. Everyone's listening. This isn't... we should talk about this at home. We should have talked about this at home months ago, before you started sneaking around with another man's wife. But since you chose to conduct your business in public, let's discuss it in public. The crowd was riveted. Some parents had started recording with their phones. This was going to be all over social media within minutes. Elena, please. Please what, Trevor? Please keep pretending I'm stupid? Please keep lying to my face while you wine and dine Daphne Reyes at romantic restaurants? Please keep making a fool of me in front of our entire community? Her voice was rising now, all pretense of confusion gone, replaced by righteous fury. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You're cheating on me with Daphne, and you're both too cowardly to admit it. She hung up and turned to face me. Colton, I am so sorry you had to find out this way. I shrugged, playing my part. I suspected something was wrong, but I never imagined this. My phone rang, Daphne's name on the screen. I answered it on speaker, just like Elena had. Colton? What the hell is going on? Trevor just called me in a panic saying Elena knows about... She stopped, realizing what she'd almost said. Knows about what, honey? About our meeting. Our business meeting. Business meeting? What business could you possibly have with Trevor Holt? It's complicated, I can't explain over the phone. Try me. The entire gymnasium was listening to my wife dig her own grave. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Trevor's been helping me with some investment opportunities. I didn't want to tell you until I was sure they'd work out. Investment opportunities? At Romano's restaurant? Over wine? We had to eat somewhere. Daphne, stop. Just stop lying. The silence stretched out until I could hear restaurant noise in the background, clinking glasses, muffled conversations, the sound of my marriage fading in real time. Colton, I'll see you at home. We have a lot to discuss. I hung up and looked around at the assembled crowd. 50 parents, 3 teachers, and the principal, all staring at me with a mixture of sympathy and fascination. "Well," I said, "this has been educational." The drive home from the school gave me 20 minutes to prepare for the performance of my life. Daphne's car was already in the driveway when I arrived, which meant she'd left Trevor sitting alone at Romano's to deal with the wreckage of their romantic evening. Poor guy. I found her in the living room, pacing like a caged animal, still wearing the black dress she'd chosen for her big night out. Her makeup was smudged, and she had that wild-eyed look of someone whose carefully constructed lie had just collapsed in front of half the town. "Colton, thank God you're home. I can explain everything." "Can you? Because I've been trying to figure out what kind of investment opportunities require romantic dinners and secret phone calls for 3 months. She sat down heavily on the couch, her shoulders sagging. For a moment I thought she might actually tell the truth. Then she rallied, and I watched her slip back into manipulation mode. "It's not what you think. Trevor's been going through a rough patch with Elena. He needed someone to talk to, and we've been friends for years." "Friends don't lie to their spouses about dinner dates, Daphne." "It wasn't a date. It was just complicated. Elena's been having some mental health issues, and Trevor was afraid to talk to anyone local about it. He needed advice from someone who understood." I held up my hand to stop her. "Do you hear yourself right now? You're making Elena sound crazy to justify sneaking around with her husband. That's low, even for you." Her face flushed. "Low? I'm trying to help a friend, and you're acting like I committed murder." "Help him with what exactly? His marriage problems? By taking him to romantic restaurants and texting him at all hours? How exactly does that help his relationship with his wife?" "You're twisting everything." "I'm not twisting anything. I'm looking at phone records that show hundreds of texts and calls between you two. I'm looking at location data that shows you've been lying about where you are and who you're with. I'm looking at a woman who bought new lingerie last month and claimed it was for my birthday, which isn't until December." That last part was a guess, but her expression confirmed it. She'd forgotten I knew when her shopping trips were. "You've been spying on me?" "I've been trying to figure out why my wife turned into a stranger. Now I know." She stood up and started pacing again. "Fine. Yes, Trevor and I have been spending time together, but it's not what you think. What I think is that you've been having an affair and lying to my face about it for months." "It's not an affair. We're just friends who what? Who hold hands at romantic restaurants? Who text each other good morning and good night? Who lie to their spouses about where they are?" She spun around to face me, and I saw something ugly flash in her eyes. "Maybe if you paid half as much attention to me as you do to your boxing and your stupid job, I wouldn't need friends like Trevor." There it was. The truth, finally. Not the whole truth, but enough to confirm what I already knew. "So this is my fault?" "I didn't say that. You just said if I was a better husband, you wouldn't need to sneak around with other men. That sounds like you're blaming me for your choices." "That's not what I meant." "What did you mean, Daphne? Explain it to me like I'm stupid, because apparently I've been stupid for months." She sat back down and put her head in her hands. When she looked up, there were tears in her eyes, but I couldn't tell if they were real or calculated. "I'm lonely, Colton. You come home from work, go to the gym, watch TV, and go to bed. We never talk anymore. We never do anything together. I felt like I was disappearing." "So you decided to reappear in Trevor Holt's life?" "He listens to me. He makes me feel interesting, important. When I'm with him, I remember who I used to be, before I became just another suburban wife." I sat down across from her, studying her face. She was telling the truth now, or at least part of it. But it was the kind of truth that made everything worse, not better. "And what about Elena? Did you think about how she'd feel when she found out her husband was helping you remember who you used to be?" "Elena doesn't appreciate what she has. She takes Trevor for granted. Like I take you for granted?" "I didn't say that. You didn't have to. It's written all over your face. You think you and Trevor are some kind of tragic love story, star-crossed lovers trapped in boring marriages with people who don't understand you? Her silence was answer enough. I leaned back in my chair and looked at this woman I'd been married to for 12 years. Really looked at her. When had she become someone I didn't recognize? "What happens now?" I asked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what's your plan? Keep sneaking around until you get caught again? Leave me for Trevor? Pretend tonight never happened and go back to lying to my face?" "I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead." "Well, let me help you think. Half the town just watched Elena humiliate you and Trevor in public. Your boss is going to hear about this by Monday morning. Trevor's wife is probably filing for divorce as we speak, and I'm sitting here trying to decide whether our marriage is worth saving." She looked up sharply. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm stating facts. You made choices, and choices have consequences. Now, we all get to live with them." My phone buzzed. A text from Elena. "Trevor came home an hour ago, found him packing a bag, told him if he left he shouldn't bother coming back. He left." I showed Daphne the message. Her face went pale. "He left Elena." "Looks like it. Congratulations. You got what you wanted." "I never wanted him to leave his wife. What did you think would happen? That you could keep playing house indefinitely? That Elena would never find out? That I'd never figure it out?" She started crying then, real tears this time. But I felt nothing. No sympathy, no urge to comfort her, no desire to fix what she'd broken. Just a cold, clear understanding that our marriage was over and had been for months. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry, Colton. I never meant for any of this to happen." "Yes, you did. You meant for all of it to happen. You just didn't mean to get caught." The weekend passed in a strange, tense quiet. Daphne stayed in the guest room, emerging only for coffee and awkward attempts at conversation that went nowhere. I spent Saturday at the gym, hitting the heavy bag until my knuckles bled, trying to work out the rage that threatened to consume me. Sunday morning, Elena called. "Trevor's staying at the motel on Route 9, she said without preamble. "The one with the hourly rates and the broken neon sign. Seems fitting." "How are you holding up?" "Better than expected. I called my lawyer yesterday. Filing papers tomorrow. I'm taking him for everything he's worth, which, admittedly, isn't as much as he pretends." "Good for you." "There's something else. I did some digging through his things before he took off. Found some interesting paperwork in his home office." "What kind of paperwork?" "The kind that shows he's been skimming money from the dealership to fund his midlife crisis. New clothes, expensive dinners, probably planning some grand gesture for your wife. His business partner might be very interested to learn where the petty cash has been going." I felt a slow smile spread across my face. "Are you planning to share this information?" "I'm planning to share it with my divorce attorney. What he does with it is up to him." After she hung up, I sat in my kitchen drinking coffee and thinking about consequences. Daphne had destroyed our marriage for a man who was about to lose everything. His wife, his business, probably his house. Trevor had thrown away a life of relative comfort for a woman who was married to someone else. And I was left holding the pieces of a life I'd thought was solid. Monday morning brought the reckoning I'd been expecting. Daphne's boss called her at 7 a.m. I could hear his voice through the phone from across the kitchen, angry, embarrassed, demanding an explanation for why his office manager was the subject of weekend gossip all over town. "Mr. Patterson, I can explain," Daphne started, but he cut her off. "Mrs. Reyes, we've received several calls from clients who were at the school event Friday night. This kind of publicity is not what our company needs. I'm afraid we're going to have to discuss your future with the firm." She was suspended pending a review of her conduct. In a town this size, that was essentially a firing with paperwork. After she hung up, she sat at the kitchen table staring at her phone like it might offer some solution to the mess she'd created. "I could lose my job," she said. You probably will. Don't you care? I looked at her over my coffee cup. Should I? You didn't care about our marriage when you decided to blow it up. Why should I care about your career? Because we have a son together. Because I'm still your wife. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, you stopped being my wife months ago. You just forgot to tell me. She flinched like I'd slapped her. What do you want from me, Colton? I said I was sorry. I ended it with Trevor. What more can I do? You didn't end it. It ended when Elena destroyed both of you in front of half the town. There's a difference. Fine, but it's over now. Can't we try to work through this? I set down my coffee cup and really looked at her. She was still beautiful, still the woman I'd fallen in love with 15 years ago. But something fundamental had changed, something that couldn't be fixed with apologies and marriage counseling. Do you love him? The question hung in the air between us. She opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again. I asked you a simple question, Daphne. Do you love Trevor Holt? It's complicated. No, it's not. It's the simplest question in the world. Yes or no. She looked down at her hands. Yes, I think I do. Then we're done. I stood up and walked toward the door, but she called after me. Where are you going? To work. To live my life. To figure out what comes next. What about us? What about Tommy? Tommy will be fine. Kids are resilient. As for us, there is no us. There's you and there's me and there's a divorce attorney I'm calling this afternoon. I left her sitting at the kitchen table and drove to work, feeling lighter than I had in months. The decision was made. The pretending was over. Whatever came next couldn't be worse than the lie I'd been living. The next few weeks passed in a blur of lawyers and paperwork and awkward conversations with mutual friends who didn't know which side to choose. Elena and I became unlikely allies, sharing information and legal strategies. She was right about Trevor's business dealings. His partner was not pleased to discover the missing money, and Trevor found himself facing more than just divorce proceedings. The final blow came 3 weeks later, at another school event. This time, Tommy's basketball game. I was sitting in the bleachers, cheering for my son, when I noticed Trevor slip in through the back entrance. He looked like hell, unshaven, wearing clothes that had seen better days, the kind of desperate look that comes from watching your life fall apart in real time. He spotted me and made his way over, ignoring the stares and whispers that followed him. Colton, we need to talk. No, we don't. Please, just 5 minutes, man to man. Against my better judgment, I followed him outside to the parking lot. He was driving a beat-up Honda now. Apparently the BMW had been repossessed. I want you to know I never meant for things to go this far, he said. What did you mean for exactly? I don't know. I was confused going through a rough patch with Elena. Daphne was just... She understood me, you know? No, I don't know. Explain it to me. He ran his hands through his hair, which needed cutting. She made me feel young again, important, like I mattered. And Elena didn't? Elena saw through all my bullshit. She knew exactly who I was, and she wasn't impressed. But Daphne, she saw who I wanted to be. So, you decided to blow up both our marriages for a fantasy? I thought maybe we could all be adults about it. Maybe you and Elena would understand. I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. Understand what? That you wanted to have your cake and eat it too? That you thought we'd be okay with sharing our spouses because you were going through a midlife crisis? It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You wanted Daphne without consequences. You wanted the excitement of an affair without the responsibility of leaving your wife. You wanted to feel special without paying the price for it. And now I've lost everything. Yeah, you have. Your wife, your business, your house, your reputation. Was it worth it? He looked at me with something that might have been desperation. She won't see me anymore. Daphne. Says it's too complicated now, too messy. Says she needs time to figure things out. Smart woman. smarter than I gave her credit for. I love her. No, you don't. You love the idea of her. You love how she made you feel about yourself. That's not the same thing. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're a middle-aged man who got bored with his life and decided to spice it up with someone else's wife. When it blew up in your face, you expected sympathy. Well, here's some free advice. Grow up. Take responsibility for your choices, and stay away from my family. I turned to walk back into the gym, but he grabbed my arm. Wait, there's something else you should know. About Daphne, about why she… I yanked my arm free and turned back to face him. I don't want to hear it. Whatever excuse you think you have, whatever justification you've cooked up, I don't care. You made your choices, live with them. I left him standing in the parking lot and went back inside to watch my son play basketball. Whatever Trevor thought he needed to tell me could stay buried with the rest of their affair. But as I sat in those bleachers, watching Tommy sink a three-pointer, I realized something had shifted inside me. The anger was gone, replaced by something colder and more permanent. I wasn't just divorcing Daphne, I was erasing her, cutting her out of my life.